heaven, turn to hell, I gotta stay alive. Lord have mercy on my soul, stand by my side. I killed the old man and I watched him die. Lost a couple niggas, guess he wasn't my round. Hey, play my niggas, lay you down, they all down the ride. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive. I gotta stay alive. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive. Tell me we don't live in hell. My brother doing 55 in that cell. Nigga claiming he your round here spin shell. Same nigga you put on to hit the standing tail. How the fuck you turn your back on a nigga that love you? Treat your kids like my kids, treat you like a brother. I told my dog, let's leave the streets to serve the most high. He said, fuck that shit, he trying to sell another pie. His daddy killed him, put him in the trunk, set him on fire. His wife was pregnant, he ain't never get to see his child. Had me thinking to myself, what happened if I die? Look my babies in the eyes, I gotta stay alive. I put my ego on the shelf and my pride to the side. I'm with some niggas who gon' step and got God on their side. Got in the ISUPK, they keep asking me why. As I do the work of the Lord, I gotta stay alive. Face the east, pray alive. I seen heaven turn to hell, I gotta stay alive. Lord have mercy on my soul, stand by my side. I killed the old man and I watched him die. Lost a couple niggas, guess he wasn't my round. Hey, play my niggas, lay you down, they all down the ride. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive. I gotta stay alive. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive.
You ever pump a pack with a snake by your side? Yes, I did. A man reach out to God before he died? Yes, I did. I know the Lord forgive us for these sins, but I'm starting to think the kingdom of heaven is for these kids. I told my daughter, there's one man in your bed, I won't stand for less. For my son, I hit your head on that fragile legs. I lost some niggas to that dope, I lost niggas to the feds. Remember Jono tried to stick me for that cheese on that bread, yeah, I was thugging with Lucky, that nigga left me for dead. Endure to the end, cause I listened to what was said. Mother told me she loved me when she was sick up in the bed. I was running them streets, but the truth made me a man. Shit, I don't really speak, cause she'll never understand. That's why I ain't even tell her about these voices in my head. I'm still trying to manage my anger like Uncle Craig.
I seen heaven turn to hell, I gotta stay alive. Lord have mercy on my soul, stand by my side. I killed the old man and I watched him die. Lost a couple niggas, guess he wasn't my round. Hey, play my niggas, lay you down, they all down the ride. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive. I gotta stay alive. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive.
Hey, Shalom Israel. Yahbashim Yahshua Barakatham to the brothers. Yahweh Shemalatham Bashim Yahshua to the sisters. I'm Priest Officer Parak holding down the Sabbath service for the ISUPK coming out of Arizona. If you're watching online, we got classes every Tuesday through Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. And every Saturday we hold our Sabbath service at 11 a.m. All right. We located at 12416 North 28th Drive in Phoenix, Arizona, 85029. We're in suite number 4, right off of the corner of 28th Drive and Cactus. If you're in the Phoenix area, if you're in Arizona, make sure you come out to these classes, come to class. All right, today, once again, is our Sabbath service. We're going to be going over the purpose of the law. We're going to be in Exodus, the 20th chapter. If y'all been following our Sabbath services, we just kind of been running through the so-called Old Testament. And right now, where we're at is Exodus, the 20th chapter, where you find the so-called 10 commandments. I say so-called because, of course, there are far more commandments than 10. But in Exodus, the 20th chapter, the commandments that the Most High wrote on the stone tablets with his finger were those 10. All right. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to read the account. We're going to understand it. But we also need to understand the purpose of why do we need the law in the first place. All right. I always like to associate the term law or commandment with rules. All right. They're just ground rules. I always associate the Most High with a father because that's what the Bible calls him, is our father. And the Most High is a father that has rules in his house. And if you want to live in his house, then you have to abide by those rules. You can break those rules, But if you choose to break those rules, you cannot live in the house with your father under his protection and under his guidance. Okay, so there's a purpose behind the law. We're gonna find out that all from the beginning, even in the book of Genesis, you find that the Most High had these rules. He had these ground rules that his children, his chosen people, had to follow. All right, and so we're gonna go over that, and we'll go over why those rules are necessary. See, rules are important to keep brothers and sisters in order. All right, just like you being a father or mother, and you have rules in your house to keep your children in order, right? Well, that's the same reason that the Most High has these rules or these commandments in place for us to keep us civilized. The reason why so many of these other nations go off and do whatever they want to do and look absolutely savage and animalistic is because they don't have the same rules and morals that we have. So we're going to find that a lot of times when people look at the law and they think that it's grievous because, damn, I can't eat this, or damn, I can't celebrate this, or damn, I can't say or do this or behave this way, I can't dress like this. A lot of times people will look at it like it's grievous. A lot of times people will look at it like, well, these are too many rules. It's too much to bear. But in all reality, these rules are just set in place to keep you in order, because without them, you become animalistic like the other nations. The Bible calls the other nations beasts. That's what the Bible calls them, beasts. And I know if you black or Hispanic, you don't want to be called a beast. We hate being called dogs and snakes and rats. We hate all of the terms that people will call you to refer to you as a beast. We human, and we're the only humans on the face of this planet. According to the Bible, the Most High said we're the only people that matter. According to Amos, the third chapter. According to Joel, the second chapter. According to Deuteronomy, the seventh chapter. All throughout the Bible, we're the only group of people that matter. And the only reason that is because the Lord chose us to give these laws and regulations and statutes to. That's what makes us the only group of people on a nation that only group of people on the planet that matters. All right. And we're going to talk about all of that. All right. So I ain't going to run on. Of course, this being a Sabbath service, we're going to open up with the prayers, and then we'll get into the Hebrew and break this thing on down. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and stand. I imagine which means to stand. Which means to turn and face the east. All right. We're going to open up with the prayers. Beginning with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Baratazah, Kawa, Hayah, Bashemayim, Nathanawa, Lacham, Kal Yawam, Wasalakanawa, Kal Wathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kal Wathinawa, Wala'ah, Tabaya Nawa, Banasaya one, Abal, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Raikaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Wa'ala, Wathapara, Awalamyam, Amun. In English, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. The Akak, or the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Babakushai, Nathanawa Hakat, Hakat Larapa'ah, Kal Maka'ala, Wakal Madawa, Hakat Latahar, Hamatazarayim, Hakat Lakwayam, Hamathiam, Hakat Al-Rakawa, Atama'ala, Lagarshan, Bashem Yahushai, the Wadaman. All right, the prayers for the power in English. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. These are the prayers to bless Israel. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Barak Lanawa.
Barak Lanawa.
Wayashala.
Wayashala.
Wahabayat Saparian. Barak. Ba'ashem Yahushai. Tabaraman. In English. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahushai.
In the name of Yahushai.
Bless us.
Bless us.
And Israel.
And Israel.
And the school.
In the school.
In the name of Yahushai.
In the name of Yahushai.
Thank you. So be it. We're going to read Psalms, the 121st chapter in the Hebrew. Asha'ah, Ayanya, Ahahaya, Mayan, Yaba'ah, Isaiah, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Aisha, Shamayam, Wa'aratazah, Al Yathan, Lamawat, Ragalka, Al Yanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yayashan, Shamar, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al Yad, Yamyanka, Yawama, Hashamash, La'a, Yakaka, Wayarach, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal Rai, Yashamar, Adnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Taza'afka, Wabawa'aka, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, Awalam. Psalms, the 121st chapter in English. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills.
I will lift up my eyes to the hills.
From whence cometh my help?
From whence cometh my help?
My help cometh from Yahweh,
My help cometh from Yahweh,
which made heaven and earth.
which made heaven and earth.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He that keepeth thee will not slumber.
He that keepeth thee will not slumber.
Behold,
Behold,
he that keepeth Yashala
he that keepeth Yahshua
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
shall never slumber nor sleep.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
nor the moon by night.
nor the moon by night.
Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil.
Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil.
He shall preserve thy soul.
He shall preserve thy soul.
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
and thy coming in
and thy coming in.
from this time forth
From this time forth
and even forevermore.
and even forevermore.
We're going to read Psalms, the 83rd chapter in the Hebrew. Alahayim, Al Damayalaka, Al Thacharash, Wa Al Thashakwat, Al Kayana, Awayabyaka, Yahmayawan, Ra'ash, Al Imaka, Yara Yamwa, Sawada, Wayatha, Yaitazawa, Al Tazapawanyaka, Amarwa, Lakawa, Wanakakidam, Magoya, Wala'a, Yazakar, Sham Yasha'ala, Awada, Kaya, Nawa Aitazawa, Laba, Yakadwa, Alyaka, Barya, Yakarathwa, Ahalya, Arawam, Wayashamayalayam, Mawa'aba, Wahagarya, Gabal, Waimawan, Waimalak, Palashah, I'm Yeshabya, Tazawar, Gam Ashawar, Nalawa, Imam, Hayawa, Zawai, Labanyalawat, Salah, Aishalaham, Kamadyan, Kasaya, Sara'ah, Kayabyan, Manakal, Kwayashwan, Nashamagwa, Bayan, Dara, Hayawa, Daman, La'adama, Sayathamwa, Nada, Yamawa, Kaira, Wakaza'aba, Wakazabach, Wakazazal, Mana'ai, Kal, Nasaya Kamwa, Ashar, Amarwa, Nairasha, Lanawa, Ath, Na'awath, Alahaya, Sayathamwa, Kagalgala, Kakwash, Lapanya Raka, Ka'ash, Saba'ira, Ya'ira, Wakalahaba, Talahat, Aryam, Khan, Tharadapma, Basa'iraka, Wabasa, Wapafka, Tabahalam, Mala'ab, Panyaham, Kwalawan, Wayabakwashwa, Shamka, Yahawah, Yabashwa, Wabahal, Wayabahal Wa, Ay, Wakaparwa, Wayabadwa, Wayadaiwa, Kayatha, Shamka, Yahawah, Labadka, Al Yawan, Al Kal, Al Ratazah. Psalms, the 83rd chapter in English. Keep not thou silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O God.
And be not still, O God.
For lo,
For lo,
thine enemies make a tumult,
thy enemies make a tumult.
and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people,
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
and consulted against thy hidden ones.
And consulted against thy hidden
They
ones.
have said,
They have said,
Come,
Come,
and let us cut them off from being a nation,
and let them cut them off from being a nation.
that the name of Yashala
That the name of Yahshua
may be no more in remembrance.
may be no more remembered.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
So they have consulted together with one consent.
They are confederate against thee,
They have confederate against
the tabernacles of Edom,
the tabernacle of Egypt
and the Ishmaelites,
and the Ishmaelites,
of Moab,
Lord,
and the Hagarenes,
and the Greeks,
Gabal,
Gaul,
and Ammon,
and
and Amalek,
the
the Philistines,
Philistines,
with the inhabitants of Tyre.
and the
Assur also is joined with them.
That's all you do with them.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
They are hoping to children of God.
Salah.
Salah.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites,
Do unto them as you do to the meaning.
as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kasan, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb, and like Zaeb. Yea, all their princes as Zabah, and as Amunah, who said, Let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahweh in possession. O my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may see thy name. O Yahweh, let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high of all the earth. We're going to read the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh, wa Yahweh Shai, wa Ma'aka Allah, wa Allah Hayya, Matazab Ya'ah, Allah Wap Yahana, Allah Wapya, Asaranya, Akwatazayanya, Akaya Yaya, wa Hagrafin, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the Wadaman. In English. Bless you, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, commanding General Yahana, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Sorry, while you're shopping, you can turn and be seated. All right. We're going to go ahead and begin by reading 7 verses in the Hebrew. Exodus, the 20th chapter, verses 1 through 7. We'll read those verses in the Hebrew, and then we'll, of course, read them in the English, break it down, get some precepts. Remember, we're going to be talking about the purpose of the law. All right? So just think about that while we read through this Hebrew, and we'll break it on down. Verse 1. Why the bar alahayim al call. It's like an ath call. Hadabayim, Ha'ala, La'amar, verse 2, An Kaya, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Ashar, Hawataza'a, Thayak, Ma'arataza, Matazayim, Mabayath, Ibadya, verse 3, La'a, Yahaya, Laka, Alahayim, Atharyum, it's like Acharyum, Al Panya, verse 4, La'a, the Aisha, Laka, Hasal, Wakal, Thamawana, Ashar, Bashamyum, Mama'al, Washar, Ba'arataza, Mathakath, Washar, Bamayum, Mathakath, La'a, Slakia, La'arataza, verse 5, La'a, Tashath, Thakawa, Laham, Wala'a, Tha'ibadam, Baya, Slakia, Kaya, Anakya, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Al, Kona, Paquad, Iwan, Abath, Al, Banyum, Al, Shalashim, Wa'al, Rabbi Yum, Lashan Naya, verse 6, Wa'aisha, Chasad, La'apal, Slakim, La'alapyam, La'a, Slakim, La'abaya, Walasha, Shamaria, Matazawatya, verse 7, La'a, Thasha, Ath, Sham, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Lashawa, Slovakia. 1 second. Kaya, La'a, Yanaqua, Yahweh, Ath, Ashar, Yasha, Ath, Shamwa, Lashawa. All right, so that was verses 1 through 7 in the Hebrew. Now we're gonna read these. Let me see. Let me pull it up real quick, Salakia. Okay. All right. Let's see. We're gonna get a little bit of context here. If we started Exodus the 20th chapter, we kind of will be missing out on some of the context. All right, we'll be missing out on some of the context if we do that. So, just to give a quick recap, right? So now this is directly after the Most High has delivered the children of Israel out of the hand of the Egyptians. All right. You see the 10 plagues. We went over this a few weeks ago, right? The 10 plagues of Egypt, right? Pharaoh did not want to let the children of Israel go and just serve the Lord for a few days. That's all that Moses was charging the Egyptian Pharaoh of allowing the children of Israel to do, is just go serve the Lord for a few days in the wilderness. He wouldn't allow it. Pharaoh would not allow it. And because of this, the Most High's anger was kindled, and he brought upon 10 plagues upon Egypt. All right. Absolutely destroyed the economy of Egypt. All right. Destroyed the morale of Egypt. And then ultimately destroyed the firstborn of every Egyptian, and destroyed the Egyptian army in the Red Sea. The Lord through Moses parted that Red Sea. The Israelites were able to get across that Red Sea, and the Egyptians that chased after them were drowned inside of that Red Sea. So now after this, right, the Most High is now, he's delivering the children of Israel out of Egypt to go and establish their own land, all right, which is the land of Israel. All right. All right. In any society, you have to have order, law and order. Otherwise, like we was talking about at the beginning of class, it's just a free-for-all that becomes animalistic. And I think many people are just animalistic in nature. Children, from the time that they're born, they're in self-preservation mode. So even, let's say, as soon as a child is able to lie, he'll lie to get his way, right? Now, lying, we know as adults, because we understand and have morality, lying is wrong. It's wrong to lie to someone, to deal falsely with someone. But a child when they're in that self-preservation mode, they'll lie to you about anything to get what they want, or to get out of punishment or get out of trouble. So we need parents. We need fathers. And that's what the Most High does. He's a father that has set ground rules in place. One of the ground rules is that you cannot lie to your brother and sister. You cannot lie one to another. That's what the law says. All right. You cannot steal. Children will steal. It's just in their nature, because they don't care about anything other than just themselves. Now, if everybody's like that and there is no law to govern those people, then everybody will steal from everybody, and then eventually what will happen? Nobody will have anything. You understand? And so in establishing the society that the Most High is putting together with the children of Israel, he's now about to deliver these laws unto them. All right, so we're going to go. I just wanted to give you all that context. So now Moses is on Mount Sinai with the Most High. and the Most High is delivering laws to him. So let's get Exodus the 20th chapter. You able to read for me? Matter of fact, I'll read it. I'll read it real quick. So let me pull this up on the screen. Pull this up on the screen. I'm gonna share my screen so that way everybody that's watching online can see it. One second. So I'm gonna share my screen. And if you was in a Christian church, you've read these before, you've heard these before. These are what many people call the 10 Commandments, right? Because these are the 10 commandments that the Lord wrote with his own finger on the tablets of stone. All right. So let's start off with verse 1. It says, "And the Most High spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. This is the first commandment that we read here, Exodus 20:3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me." That's number one. That's the number one commandment that the Most High gave to the children of Israel. The first thing that he told us. Now, if y'all watched my class on Thursday, we went over Easter, which, of course, some people are celebrating it today. Many people will be celebrating it tomorrow, Sunday, Easter Sunday, right? When you celebrate Easter, you are now putting a God before the Most High, because that day, Easter, is a representation of the fertility goddess Ishtar. All right. Like I said, if y'all watch the class on Thursday, you'll get a little bit of that history, but that's what that is. The Lord is a jealous God, and he don't want you. The book of Isaiah says that he don't share his glory with another. So when you put your faith in these idols and in these fake holidays, all right, that are pagan holidays that are in reverence to other gods, to false gods and idols, then you are now putting a God before the Lord. You are putting a God before the Most High, which is the first commandment that he ever delivered. And I kind of touched on this a little bit on Thursday about this is the first commandment that the Lord gave the children of Israel as a whole. The first commandment that he wrote down on that stone tablet with his finger is that thou shalt have no other gods before me. That should tell you how much the Lord cares about that. And if you go into the so-called New Testament, Christ says that this is the biggest commandment. The biggest commandment is that thou shalt have no other gods before the Most High. And then, of course, that you should love your brother as yourself, right? So we'll continue on reading. It goes on to say, let me try to make this bigger. I wanted to keep coming back to that, all right? Verse 4, it says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth." Verse 5 says, "Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments." So once again, the Most High is very adamant on letting you know you cannot have any gods before him. And just, while we on the subject, I want y'all to understand that having an idol, that's not necessarily, I always use this thing get the burn end of the stick, but you can make this your idol. You can say, okay, this little statue here, I'm going to worship this thing. Just like when the children of Israel left Egypt, remember, Moses took so-called to them too long on that mountain. They were like, hey, Moses been up there for too long. He playing with us, man. Matter of fact, we're going to make a God for ourselves. We're going to make a golden calf out of our earrings and our bracelets. And we're going to say that this inanimate object is what delivered us out of Egypt. People will do that. That's the same thing that we're about to see tomorrow. That goddess, Ishtar, is a fertility god. That goddess was initially used for that. Like, y'all know how about that Easter egg hunt? When you go and hunt for the Easter eggs, you got to hide them and tell the kids to go find them. That initiated with the worship of that god. Whoever found those eggs, they would be able to get pregnant. White people got a problem getting pregnant. You understand? So they got to go and worship these false gods to try to help them with their fertility. Well, that's you utilizing that object as an idol. Anything can be an idol. Your music, if you make rap music and you love your music so goddamn much that you put it over the Most High and you put it over the truth, then now that music has now become your idol. That can be your idol too. You can be your own idol. If you put yourself and your wants and your needs above what the Most High requires, now you have become an idol. So you understand? So all of these things, the Bible says that the beginning, the end, and the in-between of wickedness all comes from idolatry, because that covers everything. Idolatry is everything. Anything that brings you away from the Lord is your idol. It could be anything. It could be your children. For those of y'all that are going to celebrate this Easter, a lot of y'all are doing it for the children. That is your idol. Your idol has now become your child because you want to make them happy. Like I said, I went over a lot of that on Thursday, but so if y'all want any more information about Easter, you can go, of course, into that, and idolatry, go more into that. But that's, of course, the Lord is adamant on letting you know, don't deal with no idols. Put the Lord first. Do that sound selfish? Sound like it, but it's the Lord. He's the reason that you got eyes to see, breath to breathe. He's the reason that blood pumps through your goddamn veins. He's the reason that you're alive. He's the reason for everything. So the Lord deserves his respect. You understand? So now I'm gonna add this back to the screen. All right, so we're gonna continue on. Verse 20 and 7. Verse 20 and 7, it says, "Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain." Now, this is not when the Bible says taking the Lord's name in vain, it's not talking about saying like God damn. A lot of times when you say God damn, a Christian will be like, "Oh, don't take the Lord's name in vain." Or if I, I don't know, step on a Lego in my house and I say, "Jesus Christ," somebody might say, "Well, that's taking the Lord's name in vain." That's not taking the Lord's name in vain. Taking the Lord's name in vain can look like a couple of things. I'll run you through them. If you're using the name of the Lord, like for instance, the name of the Lord is what? Yahweh. If you're using the name of the Lord, Yahweh, in vain, like for instance, you put Yahweh on your t-shirt. We don't do that. We don't do that because that's vanity. The term vain or vanity is talking about something that's just for show. It means nothing. It's just for show, right? That's one way that you could take the Lord's name in vain. The other way that you could take the Lord's name in vain, the name of somebody is their reputation, right? So now if you take the Lord's name in vain, it'd be like what the Christian church does every day. They say that they're doing this in the name of the Lord, when really the Lord don't operate in that. He don't operate in Christianity. He don't operate in Islam. So when you say you're healing people in the name of the Most High, and you're in Christianity, that's taking the Lord's name in vain, because the Lord is not in that. You're lying on the Most High. All right, so now let's continue on. We're going to go down on verse 8, which is one of my favorites, right? Because that's, of course, today, right? The Sabbath day. Verse 8 says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Most High thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates." This is the commandment. I'm going to just use this as a teaching point so people can understand what the Sabbath day is truly about. The Sabbath day is not about what you can and can't cook. It's not about you not being able to turn your lights off. So many people will take the Sabbath day and try to make it religious. And that's a problem. The problem with so many people is you try to make the Sabbath day about being in a religion. That's what the so-called Jewish man has done. The so-called Jewish man, they won't press the button on an elevator on the Sabbath day. They won't drive their car on the Sabbath day. They won't do anything on the Sabbath day. And the reason why is because they've made the Lord's Bible, the Most High's word, religious. And now it's a religion to them. But that's not what, hey, Shalom, Lord Christ, sir, what's going on? That's not what this commandment is about. What did we just read? Let's go back and we'll read it again. This is the law. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Holy means separate, right? 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Most High thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, thy maidservant, thy cattle, thy stranger that is within thy gates. The Sabbath day is about you getting a rest and a break from work. That's it. And y'all want to know how I know that for sure? If we continue reading, it goes on to say in verse 11, for in 6 days the Most High made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore, meaning because of this, the Most High blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it, and he made it separate. That's it. The Lord built everything that we know, the birds, the bees, humankind, everything, the trees, the earth, the stars that you see in the sky, the other million planets that there are. The Lord did that in 6 days. On the seventh day, he rested. That's why he gave us the Sabbath day, because we're made in his image. So we got to rest on the seventh day too. That's all this is about. So when people, I'm just using this as a teaching moment. When people try to come to you and tell you you can't cook on the Sabbath, when people try to tell you that you can't work out on the Sabbath, people tell you can't go to the gym on the Sabbath. You got to work 6 days out the week, and then on your one off day that you might be able to hit that gym and be healthy, you can't do that either. You got to lay in bed with your goddamn. You got to just lay on your back in bed, look at the ceiling for 24 hours. That's what they want you to do, because they have made the Lord's Bible, the Lord's laws, religious, and that's not what this is supposed to be about. This is not about religion. The Lord is that. That's why our school is called the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, because all of this information that we're bringing out is practical. The Lord is practical. You understand? And so I just wanted to bring that out, because a lot of times people don't understand that they're really adding to the Bible when they try to make things what they're not. The Bible tells you what the Sabbath day is about. All right. That's just a side note. Let's continue reading.
It's like, where are we at?
We're in Exodus, the 20th chapter, and 20th, Exodus 20, and we're at verse 12. Yeah, Exodus 20 and verse 12. And what we're going to do is we're going to read these 10 commandments, and then I'm going to go into a little bit of the lesson that I wanted to get into for this Sabbath service, because remember, we're talking about the purpose of the law, the reason why the Lord gave us these things to follow. All right. So verse 12 says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Most High thy God giveth thee. Honor thy father and thy mother. Now, what is this talking about? Just, since we're going over the 10 commandments, we might as well break them down. Honoring your father and your mother doesn't look like, well, my mom really wants me to celebrate Christmas, so I'm going to celebrate Christmas. If you take it that way, then if you take it the way the Christian church teaches it, then if your mom wants you or father wants you to do anything, you'll do it just to honor them. But that's not what the Bible is talking about. When the Bible tells you to honor your father and your mother, it's talking about taking care of them in their old age, the way that they took care of you as a child. Regardless of whether they treated you poorly as a child, regardless of whether you like them or not, whether you feel like it's a burden or not, you're supposed to take, and this is the cycle of life. This is the cycle of life. Your children, your father and mother take care of you as a child. They change your diapers. They give you baths. They feed you with a spoon in your mouth. Here come the airplane, all of that. Then they get you to the point where you can now take care of yourself. Well, at the end of their life, they're going to be in diapers again. They're going to need to be spoon fed again. They're going to need to be bathed again. And it's not up to you to send your parents to a filthy home, to one of them old folk homes, and let some old white people take care of them. To people that don't give a damn about them. I done seen what happens in them old folk homes, in them nursing homes. I mean, the elderly are so mistreated in there. That's not your job to put them in a place like that. You're supposed to take care of your parents when they get old. Matter of fact, I got a precept on that. I just want to bring that out because a lot of people don't understand what it means to honor your mother and father. It actually breaks it down perfectly in the Bible. Let me see. Let me get. Damn, this is kind of a long precept though, but it's in Ecclesiasticus, the 3rd chapter. We ain't gonna read it all the way, but if you go into Ecclesiasticus, the 3rd chapter, and read verses 1 through 16, all right, you'll understand what it means to honor your mother and father. So just take that down. If you're taking notes, just take those verses down and go on your own time in the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus, the 3rd chapter, verses 1 through 16. That'll explain to you how you honor your mother and your father, all right, in detail. Once again, today's class isn't necessarily about that in specific, but I wanted to make sure I gave y'all that precept just so that way you have it. All right. So now we're going to go back into it. All right. So verse 13, Exodus 20 and 13 says, thou shalt not kill. We all understand that. And for those who don't, this is not talking about self-defense. This is talking about murder. This is talking about first degree murder. This is talking about premeditated. I'm going to kill somebody because I hate them or because they piss me off or because of this, that, and the third. This is not talking about if somebody busts up in your home, you have to let them do whatever they want to do to you because you can't kill them. No, that's a damn lie. According to the Bible, you must defend yourself. That's in the scriptures as well. So this is not talking about self-defense. This is talking about murder, killing somebody unjustly, unlawfully. All right. Verse 14. Thou shalt not commit adultery. There's a misconception as to what adultery is, and it's in whole because of the Christian church. The Christian church has wrongfully taught you what adultery is. Adultery is not cheating. All right. And I mean, when I say cheating, I'm talking about as like a global term, cheating, because according to the world, cheating is if a man and a woman are together. If that man goes and has sex with another woman, now that's cheating. That's not what adultery is. I'm gonna explain to you as simply as possible what adultery is. Adultery is if a man has sex with another man's wife, or if a married woman has sex with a man that is not her husband. That's what adultery is. That's how simple it is. All right. We have to clear that up because, of course, according to the Bible, a man can have more than one wife. So if a man goes and gets with another single woman, he hasn't committed adultery. He's just added unto himself another wife. Yeah. But if a woman is married and she goes and has sex with another man, whoever that man is, she has now committed adultery because a woman is not allowed to have multiple husbands. All right. That's very simple to understand. All right. That's what adultery is. That's outlined in the Bible specifically. So verse 15 says, thou shalt not steal. Now, this is, you would think you wouldn't have to break this down, but you do, right? Because a lot of people don't understand what stealing is. Stealing is taking something that doesn't belong to you, period. It could be borrowing something that you didn't get approval to borrow. You might say, I'm going to go take this from this brother. He's not going to know I took it because I'm just going to bring it back. That's still stealing. You can't do that. All right. Stealing, if a brother loans you $20 and you never pay him back, that's stealing. You understand? So thou shalt not steal. It's on any level you cannot steal. And these, once again, we're about to get into it. These are things that are necessary in order for a society to function. Because in order for a society to function, people can't be stealing from each other. Right? In order for a society to function, a man can't go and just take another man's wife. Because now what does that cause? That causes discord. Now them two men hate each other. And then those two families hate each other. And now the families are split up. And now they fighting. And now they killing each other. And now the situation that we see in Chicago right now on O Block between, 53rd and 54th and 55th is all because of women. When you go into the book of First Esdras, it tells you that damn near every problem and every conflict and war was started because of women. Well, this alleviates that. Now we ain't got to worry about that because now you're not going to touch another man's wife. Y'all not going to fight over a woman. Every man is going to have their own wife. Every woman's going to have their own husband, right? Paul touches on that as well. So all of these things are necessary in order for a society to properly function. And then the next one, Exodus 20 and 16 says, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. That's very simple. I'll break it down. Bearing false witness against your neighbor means that if you go up to the judges and you say, I saw him doing this, but you didn't see him doing that. Or this man owes me $30, but he doesn't owe you $30 because you never loaned him $30. You just lying. Bearing a false witness is saying, see, I'm gonna pull this on full screen. See, because sometimes people will say to us, especially a lot of fake Israelites will say, y'all are bearing false witness. Remember, we said that Sakari cat, we said he got pegged because that's what the text messages say. Now, this is what people try to do with us. They try to say, well, y'all are bearing false witness. Y'all wasn't there to see that, and he didn't admit to it, so y'all can't say that he did that. No sweat. Well, what just came out 2 days ago? The text message just came out. He said to his woman, yeah, you've been bending me over and putting stuff in my behind. Well, that's not us bearing false witnesses. We going based off of the evidence. Now, if you're telling me that we can't go based off of the evidence, that's the way the Bible tells us to do it. We got to go based off of the evidence. So when we say that that man is committing acts of fornication, if we didn't have the proof, then we would be bearing false witness because we don't have proof. But when you got the proof, you call a spade a spade. You say, you tell it what it is. So that's what bearing false witness is. Bearing false witness is saying you saw something that you didn't see. All right. Blaming something on somebody. Kids are bad for that. Like, kids are bad for that a lot. I got 5 kids. So all my kids they've all, you know what I mean? They've all been false witnesses. All right. That's just what it is, man, you know. But you know, like for instance, my 2 oldest daughters, right? They real close to the same age, so they with each other all the time. And if something gets broken, or let's say somebody drank some juice they weren't supposed to drink or something like that, even like I'll ask the oldest one, I'll be like, did you drink this juice? And she'll be like, no, I didn't do it. And she really didn't do it. But then she'll go on and say, Narad did it. But she didn't see Narad do it. But she gonna say that because she don't want to get in trouble. And she didn't do it. All she really got to say is, no, I didn't do it. But she bearing false witness. Now, of course, these are kids. Kids are gonna do that. We're not gonna stone them to death for this. This is just kids. All right, we're not gonna hold them to the same standard that we hold adults to. We just teach them those things, right? But point being, right, is that those are examples of bearing false witness. So let's continue on. It goes on to say in verse 17, it says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. This is important. This law is important. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. That's the end of the 10 commandments, but I want to break that down real quick. And then if you don't mind, if you could hold for me Luke, the 5th chapter. I want to break down that coveting, though, right? That coveting is important because all sin stems from coveting. What do I mean by that? We just went over adultery, right? Adultery is, let's say, if a man wants to have sex with another man's wife, that would be committing adultery. Where does it start? It doesn't start with the sex. It starts with the desire in your mind. That's what coveting is. Coveting is, I want what somebody else has. And this isn't a righteous way. Like, you can damn near covet righteously in a sense, like, damn, that's a nice car. I want one of those. But you don't want his car. You don't want to go and pull him out of the car and take his car. That's a nice car. I want one of those one day. And that's righteous. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So really, in essence, coveting is more so you want something that somebody else has, like that person has that thing right there specifically. All right, ain't nothing wrong with seeing somebody that got like I'm coveting the hell out of Yahweh's garment right there. That's fly. I want that. You know what I mean? I want that. But I ain't finna go to Yahweh's. Hey, Sloppy, so you want to give me that? I'm not gonna do that, right? That would of course be coveting and then stealing, right? So of course those are the differences, and that's why it's important. Now, all of these things. Now remember, we're going into what the purpose of the law is, because all of these things serve a purpose. There's a reason why the Lord has to tell us to do these things. In order to have a functioning society, you have to be able to follow law and order, right? And these 10 commandments are not the only commandments. There's some people say 613. We don't really go by a number, but there's hundreds of laws that you find in this Bible. Laws that you don't even think about. I always bring up the one. If you build a house for yourself, on the top around the roof, you got to have a battlement. You have to have a railing around the top of your roof, so that way if anybody's on your roof working on it or whatever, they don't fall off. That's something that nobody would even think of, but that's a law in the Bible. You got to do that. Another one is, like, say if you got a field that you grow crops in, at the edge of your field, you have to leave the edge, the outwardmost corners of your field. You have to leave that. Don't take from that. Leave it so that way a passerby, somebody that might be poor, be hungry, whatever, walking by your field, they can just grab an apple off that tree and they can have it because it's for the poor. That's a law in the Bible. So it's more than just the so-called 10 commandments. It's more than that. All right. But we're going to understand what the purpose of the law is. Can I get Bible Kashad, Luke the 5th chapter and the 30th verse?
Luke 5:30. But their scribes and Pharisees murmured against his disciples, saying, "Why do ye eat and drink with publicans and sinners?"
So now this is a question that the scribes and Pharisees was asking to the disciples of Christ, because Christ, unlike the Christian pastors, unlike the other people, Christ would go and sit amongst the people that didn't keep the law. Like, y'all wonder why Captain Tazariah goes to the 100 side and goes and deals with Whack 100, and all of them cats that are gangbangers, all of them cats that sell drugs and do drugs. He goes around them, and y'all ask, why is he dealing with them? Well, that's the same thing that people asked about Christ. There's a reason for it. Keep reading verse 31.
Verse 31. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, "They that are whole need not a physician, but they that are sick."
See, they that are whole, meaning those that are well, they don't need a physician. They don't need a doctor. But they that are sick, the people that are sick, those are the people that come to the doctor and get fixed. I'm gonna explain who the law is for. The law is not for somebody who is morally upright. That's not for them, because they're already morally upright. The law is for people that grow up and still steal, people that grow up and still lie, people that grow up and will bear false witness on you to get themselves out of a bad situation. You understand? People that will covet and have sex with your wife. You understand? That's who the law is for. There are certain people that grow up and they just keep the law naturally. They don't want to have sex with another man's wife. They don't want to steal from you. They don't want to lie to you. They'll tell you the truth. There are people that have never read this Bible, that don't know anything about this Bible, that will not lie to you because in their mind, morally, they know it's wrong. But there are people, like most of us, I ain't going to speak for nobody else, I'll speak for myself, that will steal from you without this law, that will lie to you without this law, that will have sex with your woman without this law. So that's what the purpose of the law is for. The purpose of the law is to get the people that would normally do these things not to do them. Can I get First Timothy, the 1st chapter? Right? Because Christ said, "I came not to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." You don't call the righteous to repentance. They ain't got nothing to repent from. If you already keeping the law, then there's nothing for you to change. The term repent means to turn away from sin. So if you ain't got no sin to turn away from, you gravy. But this law was instituted for those people that are going to have sex with your wife, that are going to kill you, that you can playing dice is lawful, but killing somebody because you lost a dice game is not. And there are people that will kill you. Ask, what's the brother name? Takeoff, right? That's the brother out of the Migos that got murdered, right?
Right.
So I'm asking him, you can't, because unfortunately this brother got put to death because a man got angry over a dice game. This man had to die because of it. That's murder. That's unlawful. But that's who the law is for. If that man that put him to death would sit in these classes and understand the difference between what righteous killing and unrighteous killing is, then maybe we still have a brother like Takeoff here, and so many thousands of brothers that have died because of these types of situations, right? Let's go ahead and get 1 Timothy, the 1st chapter, and let's read the 9th verse.
1 Timothy 1:9. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man.
Matter of fact, back up just a second and go to verse 8.
Verse 8. But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully.
See, we know that the law is good. See, a lot of Christians will tell you that the law is bad. Don't we see that? When you go to the Christian church and you tell them, hey, these Hebrew Israelites told us that we got to keep the laws, they'll say, well, no, the law is bad, man. You can't be keeping that law. That's that old law. Christ died, so you ain't got to keep the law. But the Bible tells us that the law is good. But it goes on to say, if a man use it lawfully. See, guess what Christian pastors will use the law for? For their tithes. You know, tithing is a law in the Bible. When you go into the Bible, you have to give 1/10 of all to the priest. Well, they want those Catholic priests and those Christian pastors, They won't keep any other law. They won't read Leviticus the 11th chapter that tells you what you can and can't eat. They won't read Leviticus 23 that tells you can't celebrate Easter, but you must celebrate Passover. They won't read that. But what they will read is the law that says that you have to give a tenth to the priest. They'll assume that position and keep that law because they're not using the law lawfully. That's why Paul said the law is good if a man use it lawfully. Right. When you go back to the time of Christ, the Sadducees and Pharisees are exactly what the Christian church is today, because they would let you get away with not honoring your mother and your father, but they will take them tithes. They will put you to death for sure for committing adultery, but they'll let you get away with whatever you want as long as you can pay your tithes. And that's what you find when Christ was talking about that. He said that you take tithes of mint and anise, right? And so that's the same thing that we see today. The same thing that we see today is you can do whatever you want. You can even commit adultery if you want to, but just make sure you're paying them tithes. You understand? Now we can read verse 9.
Verse 9, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless,
right,
and disobedient.
Right, go ahead.
For the ungodly and for the sinners, for the unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers.
Now we're going to keep reading. These are all sins when you go into the Bible. And these are not all just found in the 10 Commandments, because once again, there's more than just 10 Commandments. This is who the law was made for. The law wasn't made for somebody who wouldn't kill somebody. The law is made for that man that is violent and that will kill somebody, to stop him from killing somebody. It's made for the lawless, the people that don't have that law. Like Paul says this, and I think in the book of Corinthians, he says that there are Gentiles, right? People that, these are Israelites that are not raised under the priesthood, not raised in the truth, but they keep the law naturally. Because like I said, there's some of us that will grow up and we won't be thieves. We'll be A+ students that don't steal, won't kill nobody, won't do drugs, won't participate in none of that whoredom, right? Keeping the law naturally. But that's not who the law is made for. The law is made for those Israelites that are going to kill you if they lose that dice game, right? That are going to be a whore, right? Let's keep reading verse 10.
Verse 10. For whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind.
For them homosexuals. Listen, the Bible tells you that a man that layeth with another man must be put to death because it's an abomination. There are men that they don't know no better. They're going to do it. They are going to be homosexual. This law is created for men like that, for men that are going to try to have sex with another man. This Bible is here to say, you better not do that because you're going to get put to death. You understand? There are men that are effeminate, and they got to be taught how not to be. But that's what we're here for. We're here to teach men how not to be effeminate. We teach men how to be men, but we do it through the Bible, because that's what this law was created for. If every man was just a man's man, we wouldn't need a law to say don't have sex with another man. You understand? We wouldn't need a law like the law in Leviticus, the 20th chapter, that says if you have sex with another man, you're going to get put to death. We wouldn't need it if there weren't men that would do that. So that's of course, that's the point of this. The reason why we have these laws in place is to tell those men that would do that, you better not. Let's keep reading.
For men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine.
That's what the law is made for the men and women that will not adhere to sound doctrine on their own. Right. They got to be taught. And here we are in America today. Every one of us has to be taught. You got to be taught. You understand? Especially because we've been indoctrinated to be in this society, to be a part and included in the society. And what do I mean by that? And I'm not saying that blacks and Hispanics are on the same level as the people that run this country, but what I mean is they'll include you in the society by giving you their chitlins, by giving you their pork and the lobster and the crab, by giving you their holidays, by giving you their Easter, by giving you their Christmas. They'll include you in that way because, like we talked about on Thursday, anything that will keep you away from serving the Lord, they'll give you that, because that's what America is about. America is about being as far away from the Most High as possible. And we've been included in that part of this society. So because that's the case, we need this Bible to bring us back into the truth. That's why so many of us, man, there's so many brothers, and it's a beautiful thing. I see brothers coming into this school at 70, 80 years old. Right. Old brothers, you know, that are supposed to be full of wisdom, but they've been taught by America. You understand? And by the false leaders that America has instituted for black people. America put Al Sharpton at the head. America put Martin Luther King at the head. Why? Because they're not going to teach you this sound doctrine that we're reading about. They're going to teach you the opposite. They're going to teach you how to serve the white man, not how to serve the Lord. So now these brothers that are supposed to have this real wisdom, gray hair, that's supposed to represent this wisdom, they ain't got none. They got to come in here and get taught, which is still a beautiful thing, because that just goes to show that this sound doctrine can be taught to anybody. But, you know, like a lot of people will say, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But that's a goddamn lie. You understand? Because according to the Most High, you can teach any man anything that's willing to hear it. And so that's what we do. That's why this scripture is so important, because the law was created for a man like that. It was created for a man that didn't know what was right and wrong, that was led astray, that was led by himself or led by a false leader. Right. It was created for him to come back to learning about the Most High and serving the Most High the way that he said to be served. That's another thing before we keep reading. I hate you know, people that say, like, I have like a personal relationship with Jesus. Not only does it sound, you know, LGBTQ, but it also just it goes to show that you're selfish and you want to serve the Lord the way that you feel like serving the Lord. When the Most High told you how to serve him. We just read Exodus, the 20th chapter. It say he a jealous God, right? Well, a jealous God don't want you serving him the way that you feel like it. You understand? I always say this, your intentions mean nothing. You think celebrating Christmas is celebrating Jesus Christ's birthday. Well, when the hell did the Most High tell you to celebrate a birthday? Do you understand? Which, of course, even then, Christmas, of course, is not about Jesus' birthday. But my point is, you'll try to find ways to justify doing what you want to do and say that it's about serving God. Y'all are going to celebrate Easter tomorrow, and you're going to say that it's about serving God. You're going to say that it's about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. But really, all you want to do is just have family time with your family. You put your family as your idol above the Most High. You put your kids above the Most High. You understand? Well, this sound doctrine that we're reading about, this law is about taking somebody like that would normally just do whatever the hell they want to do and giving them the right thing to do. Let's keep reading.
Verse 11. According to the glorious gospel of the blessed God, which was committed to my trust, and I think Yahushua Mashiach.
That's good. That's good right there. Let me get Romans the 7th chapter, right? So that's according to the glorious gospel, Romans 7. That's according to the glorious gospel of the Most High. Remember, the gospel of the Most High is that all of the children of Israel come back under one united front, under the law, statutes, and commandments, and rule over the nations. That's literally what the gospel is. If you search on our YouTube page, go back. I think we taught this class maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, probably a few times. But when you look up ISUPK Arizona, or just ISUPK period, and search the term gospel, we got classes on what the gospel is. It's not what the Christian church has taught it to be. The gospel is not about spreading the word to everybody on the earth. The gospel is about the children of Israel coming together under a united front and serving the Most High and ruling over the other nations. That's literally what it's about.
Right.
And that's what you got. That's what we have to teach brothers and sisters. And they don't know this naturally. They don't know that this goes back to us being in America. They don't know that they're supposed to be the kings and priests in this earth. They think that they're supposed to be slaves. Because in America, that's what we taught we are. We taught that we have to be the second-class citizens, the third-class citizens. You know, the first-class citizens is so-called white man, and you got your second class, you know, your Arabs and your Chinese, and then you got your third class, which is the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which are the people that built this country. But we're treated as the bottom of the barrel. And the reason for that is because our oppressor couldn't be any further from the Most High. And so when you try to follow him, that's why the scriptures say, envy thou not the oppressor and choose none of his ways. Because when you try to follow him, it's like the Most High is over here and your oppressor's over here. And you right here next to the Most High where he wants you. But you want to be over here where your oppressor is at, because that's where you see success. So you start coming that way and you come further away from the Lord. And that's what the Bible is trying to get you away from, turning away from the Lord. Let's get Romans the 7th chapter and the 14th verse.
Romans chapter 7 verse 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin.
Hey, your main man Paul, he needed the law. He wasn't somebody that was born, Paul Benjamite. He wasn't somebody that was born and just was an upright man. It's very few children that you find that are just upright. Very few people that you find that just, they get raised up and they good to go. Well, he wasn't like that either. Paul said that he's carnal, sold under sin, right? But he said the law is spiritual, because that's what the law isn't carnal. The law is spiritual, because your carnal flesh would say, I want to smoke this blunt because I've had a long day. That's what your flesh wants you to do. I've had a long day, man. I just want to relax. I don't want to think about nothing. I want to fire this blunt up and chill for the rest of the night. That's what your flesh wants. That's what your carnality wants. But the law is spiritual. The law say that that's witchcraft, and that a witch got to be put to death. So which one you gonna follow? If you follow your flesh, that means that spiritual law that we talking about, we're gonna cause you to get put to death. So Paul is saying, in essence, I'm sold under sin. I'm carnal. If it was up to me, I wouldn't do none of this. I wouldn't keep the law. And listen, we all the same way. For most of us, if it wasn't for this law, we would be murderers. We would be drug users and drug sellers. Our sisters would be whores. We would be whoremongers. That's what we would be without this law, without this governing authority. And ask us what we was like before we came into this truth. Most of us were those things, but the law came and we governed ourselves with that law. Now we stopped being those things. And now, even though when we've had a long day, we remember how that blunt used to hit at the end of the day. A lot of us wouldn't even wait till we got home. We sparking the blunt up in the car on the way home. You understand? Well, we remember how that felt. And your carnality, now that you in the truth, might make you feel like you want to do that again. Might want to go back to that again. But you remember the spirit of the law. Just because you want something don't mean that it's right. You got to follow what the Lord said in front of you. All right? A lot of us were angry people. A lot of us were absolutely angry, used to fight all the damn time. Some of these brothers, murderers. According to the Bible, you can't be like that. You can't just be somebody that flies off the handle just because you were inconvenienced. A lot of us, man, we used to, when we was upset, the first thing that we would do is start throwing our fists around, right? But according to the Bible, you can't hate your brother. You can't harm your brother without a cause. That's a law in the Bible, that you're not allowed to harm your brother without a cause. So we got to now fight our flesh in that aspect. That's what being in the truth is all about. It's all about fighting yourself. You are your own worst enemy. Right. All right. Let's keep reading. Verse 15.
Verse 15. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not.
Now, this is always a scripture that jams a lot of people up, because the wording in here is kind of ridiculous, right? But Paul is saying, for that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I. This is talking about the fact that nobody wants to have to control themselves. That's a tough thing to do. There's a reason why the Bible calls it fighting your flesh, because it's a struggle. It's a struggle. I mean, internally, it feels like physically, like it hurts for you to fight your flesh, because the thing that you want to do, you can't do it. To fight your urges, to fight your flesh, actually is a fight. It physically hurts. And Paul is telling you that. But you got to do it, though. You still got to do that. So I hate the fact that I can't just do what I want to do. But nonetheless, I got to keep this law, because the Lord gave me this law to govern myself. So that way somebody else ain't got to govern me. Because if I don't govern myself, I'm going into the authority of the white man. Because if I don't govern myself, I'm putting somebody to death, and now I'm behind bars for the rest of my life. Right. If I don't govern myself, I'm having sex with somebody else's wife, and now I'm getting put to death. If I don't govern myself through this law, somebody else is going to have to govern me. And that goes into just a little bit about what when Paul talks about the law. There's two separate ways that you could talk about the law. There's the law, which is the punishments for breaking the law, and then there's just the law that you have to keep. The law that, when we're talking about the punishments for breaking the law, the Lord don't want you to have to see that. The Lord don't want you to have to see the punishment for committing adultery, because that is death. If you commit adultery, you get put to death. That's according to the Bible. You get stoned to death. All right. The Lord don't want you to be punished for committing murder, because if you murder somebody, you get put to death. You get stoned to death. That's just what it is. The Lord don't want you to have to go through those punishments, because that just goes to show you didn't govern yourself with the law. Now the priest's got to come and govern you. Got to dig a hole, put you in that mug about 5 feet deep to where just your shoulders and up is exposed, and they're gonna get the biggest boulders and start throwing them at you. Now somebody else got to govern you. The Lord is trying to stop you from having to do that and preemptively get you to do it yourself. That's when we go into the Bible, when we go into the so-called New Testament, Christ did that. Christ told us the spirit behind the law. The spirit behind the law is not just thou shalt not commit adultery. It's don't even look at a married woman. Because if you look at this married woman and you lust after her, that you've already committed adultery with her in your mind. That's when you go back to like with David, right? You know, David committed adultery with Bathsheba. All right. Well, that started out with Bathsheba taking showers, the window open. He looking through the window. He knows she married. He knows who she is. He know who her husband is. But he just, you know, damn, it wouldn't hurt to just take a look. Damn, she looked good. He knows she married. And is it unlawful to look at? No. But this is what you got to understand. According to Christ, it is. Why? Because now at this point, you've already committed adultery with her in your mind. Now you've uncovered this woman's nakedness. And the next thing that you're going to do is lay down with this woman. And you're going to be an adulterer. So that's the spirit behind it. So you have to always understand these things. That's why the Bible says that the law is spiritual. It's not just these words that are on this paper. It's deeper than that. Okay, let's keep reading. Salakia. Yeah. Let's get verse 16.
Verse 16. If then I do that which I would not, I consent into the law that it is good. Now, then is it no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me?
Mm-hmm.
For I know that in me that is for I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing.
Mm-hmm.
For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not.
So let me get Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus 39. All right. So now we see that this is Paul just kind of giving a spiritual breakdown of how the law works. Really, you got to understand that you don't have any choice but to control yourself, because this is, especially when we understand the times that we live in. You know, Jesus Christ is going to return, and we see examples of how you're going to be treated when he returns if you fail to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. You know, the scriptures say that he's going to say, bring the enemies that would not that I reign over them. Now, you might say that you want Jesus Christ to reign over you. You could say that. But who cares about what you say? Your actions prove that. If you are committing sin, you don't want Christ to rule over you. You know why? Because the Christ that would rule over somebody that sins is the Christ that would get your neck ready for it to be slit, right? And that's what he said in the book of Luke. He said that those mine enemies that would not that I should reign over them, bring them before me, and we will kill them, right? And that's what you got to understand. That's the Jesus Christ that so many people don't understand. They don't understand that Jesus Christ is going to come back, and the horse is going to, the blood is going to be up to the horse's bridle. You know, that's about 4 feet tall, 3 feet tall, about 4 feet tall in the streets. That's a lot of blood that Jesus Christ is going to be shedding. You're not realizing that if you still steady out here committing sin, then that's what you're waiting for. That's the fearful looking for of indignation that the Bible talks about. Let's read Salakia. Let's read Ecclesiasticus, the 39th chapter. Let's start at verse 1. No, 39.
39.
Okay, and verse 1.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 39, verse 1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient and be occupied in prophecies.
See, this is what, like, y'all got to understand, the spirit behind this law is wisdom, is knowledge, is understanding, because once again, the purpose for these laws in the first place is to have a functioning society. Remember, when you go into Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, it tells you that these laws are going to be your wisdom and your knowledge in the sight of the nations. And the nations round about you that don't have this law, Psalms 147 tells you that the other nations don't have this law, nor can they keep it. Those nations are going to look at the Israelites and they're going to say, this is a wise and understanding nation, because they're going to see how proper society functions. And that's only possible throughout these laws and in these statutes. You know, under our reign as Israel, there is no poor. Like the Bible said, it uses that term poor, but when it comes to being in the nation of Israel, there will be no poor, because the people that have it will give it to the people that don't. So then really nobody is without. And that's proper society. Like in America, Arizona is terrible. Phoenix is terrible for this. If you go up and down these streets, right outside our school, all these white homeless people, I mean, hooked on fentanyl and opiates.
Right.
That's America's doing, because America doesn't have it set in place to where they see these people and they say, hey, we're going to get you shelter. We're going to get you food. We're going to get you off of these drugs. They don't care. You know what they're going to do? They'll lock these people that are on this fentanyl. For most of them, they won't even put them in jail for public intoxication or for having these drugs on them. They won't even do that. They'll just say, hey, you got to get away from here. So you know what they do with these fentanyl addicts? They just move them from one block to another, to another, to another. You understand? We've had the police coming up here next to our school with these cats doing that Fenny lean. You know, where they come, they so damn high out their mind and they just leaning. Well, the police have come up here and these cats got fentanyl on them. They take the fentanyl and they say, hey, man, you got to go somewhere else. And they just push them around from block to block to block. Don't give them no resources. Now, imagine for us as Israelites in the UPK, when we see somebody like that, that's our people, what do? We give them resources. We say, hey, brother, here's some food. Put those drugs down. Here's my number. Call me. I'll give you counseling. You can come to these classes. We'll be able to help you out. We'll give you clothes. You need clothes, brother? You ain't got no clothes? No sweat. We got clothes for you. We got food for you. And we can get you off of those drugs. We got a 90-day drug program. You understand? We'll get these brothers and sisters off of these drugs. That's why we do that, because that's what the Lord told us to do in his Bible. That's how you build a functioning society. America don't know nothing about that. America didn't follow nothing like that. That's why there's so much poverty. When you go to Skid Row in LA, it's so bad, it's blocks and blocks and blocks of nothing but tents, people living outside. LA County ain't doing nothing about that. The federal government not doing nothing about that. They don't care. Because as long as the rich are rich, it doesn't matter that the poor are poor. But according to the Bible, there can be no poor, because the rich are going to feed the poor. And that's how a proper society functions.
Right.
And so once again, so we read that like Ecclesiasticus say, right? In the 39th chapter, say, but he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High and is occupied in the meditation thereof will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient and be occupied in prophecies. There's wisdom in keeping this law. That's why, like, when you go into this Christian church, their wisdom is so surface level. Like, it seems like they're saying something deep until you question it, and then they ain't got no answers for you. Right. That's why you go to those Sunday services, and it's like they make it like it's a concert. and it's all about entertainment. But don't you try to ask. That's why we don't do it like that in here. You don't see no choir in here. We don't play no music to get you ready. We don't do none of that. We're not passing around the tip. This is not that. When we talk, we don't talk like preachers. You know, I'm not even going to do the impersonation. I'm bad at it. But y'all know how them preachers talk. We're not doing this to try to keep your attention. We're doing this to tell you what the Bible say, and that's it. And guess what? Anybody can raise their hand and ask a question. In the Christian church, you can't do that. Why? Because if you raise your hand to ask a question, they're not going to have an answer. So they're not taking your question. You could pull them to the side after the service, and they still not going to answer your question because their wisdom is surface level. It's just up here. It's just so what you could see. But there's nothing deeper than that. According to the Bible, those that keep the law, they have the true wisdom because they seek out the wisdom of the ancients. We seek out the wisdom of Abraham. We seek out the wisdom of Solomon. We seek out the wisdom of all of these men in this Bible that has laid the foundation for us to continue in this truth and to serve the Most High properly. Right. The Christian church don't do that. They don't have those resources. Let's keep reading. Let's get verse 2.
Verse 2. He will keep the sayings of the renowned men. Sorry. Renowned men. And where subtle parables are, he will be there also. He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences and be
conversant
in dark parables. He shall serve among great men and appear before princes. Mm-hmm. He will travel through strange countries, for he hath tried the good and the evil among men.
This is the spirit that you receive when you keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. You become this. That's what the Bible is telling you. And why? Because you're going to seek out the secrets of this Bible. You're going to seek out the understanding and the wisdom of the ancients. And that's, once again, that's what makes, like, when the men that we follow, right? Because we do follow men in here. Like, we have a leader, Commanding General Yohanan. The Bible has always set up men for you to follow that had the spirit of the Lord. Always. At one time, it was Moses. At one time, it was Joshua. At one time, it was the different prophets that you see that the men used to have to go to be able to receive prophecy and understand how to serve the Most High. Well, instead of being online telling us that we serve men and we're men pleasers, you should be following them too. And you should be trying to figure out what they know, because that's what the Bible is telling you to do. So a man that keeps the law is somebody that is also going to go out and he's going to seek out that wisdom. And that's what's going to keep the nation whole. See, we're not going to have a nation full of idiots. And that's what the Lord don't want. The Lord don't want a nation full of idiots. The Lord wants a nation full of wise and understanding people. That's why, once again, when you go to Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, these laws being our wisdom is going to show the other nations that the Most High is righteous. All of this is to the Lord's glory. All of it.
Right. And
that's the way the Lord operates. Once again, in Isaiah, it tells us that the Lord is not going to share his glory with another. All right. Let me go. Let's skip down. Let me see. Give me verse 6.
Verse 6. When the great Lord will, he shall be filled with the spirit of understanding. He shall pour out wisdom. He shall pour out wise sentences and give thanks to the Lord in his prayer. He shall direct his counsel and acknowledge, and in his secrets shall he meditate.
Mm-hmm. And these are all attributes of a man that keeps the law. Let me get on the book of Psalms. I was going to keep reading, but I think we got the point there. We got the point that, you know, when you keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, this is your wisdom in the sight of the nations. And that's the only way you can receive it. You're going to be a dumb idiot without these laws. You can't survive without them. So many of us have tried for so long. So many of us have tried for so long to be deep without keeping these laws. We've tried to be smart and wise and knowledgeable without keeping these laws, but you're really just a smart idiot. That's what you end up being. And that becomes evident with the people that we battle. The people that we battle that don't keep the law, these cats come up against us and think that they smart, think that they know what they're talking about, think that they could break down the Bible, think that they could break down true understanding until they run into us, and then they become confounded. Because the Lord is only with those that keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. And we just trying to give y'all that. Like we don't say that we keep the law because we're better than anybody. That's not at all our point. Our point is come get some of what we got. We try. Listen, man, we at the feast. We at the dinner table. This is a beautiful thing. We got more than enough food. We have an abundance of food. We just want to share it with y'all. We just telling you how good the menu is. But y'all don't want what's on the menu. Y'all want to go to McDonald's. That's what y'all want. Because everything outside of this truth is McDonald's, is Taco Bell. You understand? Let me get Psalms the 119th chapter.
17th chapter, you said?
No, 119. Psalms 119. All right. That's what people don't understand. We're not doing this because we boasting for ourselves. The Bible tells us to boast in the Lord. And that's what we do. We boast in the Lord. We say how beautiful this dinner table is set up. And we just want to invite y'all to the feast. But y'all don't want to come. You know, and that's a parable that the Lord gave. I mean, that Christ gave. There's so many people that we're trying to invite to the feast. Y'all don't want to come. The problem is when it's time to eat and you find out that McDonald's ain't filling you up the right way, you find out that it's doing nothing but giving you disease and sickness, you'll remember that feast that we invited you to with good, plentiful food. And food that was good for your bones and nourishment for your health. And you'll be full of disease. So all we're trying to do is save your life, essentially. All right. That's the analogy. 98.
Verse Psalms 119, verse 98. Thou through thy commandments hast made me wiser than my enemies, for they are ever with me.
This is David speaking. David said that thou, talking to the Most High, has through thy commandments made me wiser than mine enemies. See, and anybody that comes up against you, understand this about the way that the Most High works. If you keep the Most High's word, if you keep his law, statutes, and commandments, if you keep his charge, anybody that comes up against you ain't really coming up against you. They're coming up against the Lord. You got to really think that way. Because then when you think that way, you start to understand the way that the Lord has always intended it to be. If somebody comes up against the Lord's little ones, up against the Most High's chosen, then they're not coming up against you. They're coming up against him. And that's something nobody should ever do. And that's why that's why David is saying this to the Lord. You've made me wiser through your commandments. The other nations don't have this understanding. Always going back to Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, right? We're going to be wise in the sight of the nations, right? Keep going. Verse 99.
Verse 99. I have more understanding than all my teachers, for the testimonies are my meditation.
Go ahead.
I understand more than the ancients, because I keep thy precepts. I have refrained my feet from every evil way, that I might keep thy word. I have not departed from thy judgments, for thou hast taught me. How sweet are thy words unto my taste, yea, sweeter than honey to my mouth. Though thy precepts I get understanding.
Right. Through thy precepts I get understanding. Go ahead.
Through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way.
Yeah, this is where you get understanding from. Through the term precept literally means law. Can you give me the book of Judith in the Apocrypha? The term precepts means law. So what David is saying is, through your law, I get understanding. When you really start to understand the law of this Bible, you understand how life is supposed to operate. And that's why the Bible tells us that these laws, statutes, and commandments are our wisdom. See, the law is this. The law is all about order. That's it. That's it. When you understand order, then you understand how life should operate, And that makes life a lot smoother for you. And everybody's going to be looking at you like, damn, this person has something that I don't have. And I got to figure out what the hell it is. That's why Christ said he refers to it as a light. Let your light so shine before men, because people are going to look at you and be like, this person has it together. This person knows what the hell is going on. You get that from keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments and understanding them. That's why when we read just now or earlier, Exodus, the 20th chapter, just even understanding those so-called 10 commandments, understanding that already makes you a better person, already makes you a better functioning person in society. Understanding what it means to honor your mother and your father, that makes you better. Understanding what it means to not covet, that makes you better. Understanding what it means to not commit adultery, that makes you better. That's what the Lord is trying to put together. The only reason he gave us these things is because we couldn't do it on our own and because it was necessary to have a functioning society. The Lord, that's all the Lord cares about is order. That's why, once again, thou shalt have no other gods before me. That's order. You know why? Because we're the type of people, blacks and Hispanics, we'll worship anything. We'll worship anything. That's evident throughout the Bible. When you go into the Bible, you find that we'll worship anything. We worship the stone. A pile of gold when we came out of Egypt. Seeing that the Lord, the Most High Yahweh, brought us out of Egypt. As soon as something go wrong that we don't like, we want to serve a different God. And not even a God that's like the invisible God, the creator of heaven and earth. No, like a God like, take these earrings out of my ear, take this bracelet off of my wrist, melt it down and fashion a golden calf, and that's God. That's how stupid we are. So the Lord, knowing that, that's why he has to give us this type of order, these types of commandments, because he knows how we are. He calls us a stiff-necked people. And so because that's the case, now you can stop being stupid. You can stop being an idiot. And now instead of you trying to think for yourself and making all of the terrible decisions that you've always made your whole life, now the Lord will make your decisions for you. The scriptures say that the Lord will order your steps aright. And if you allow him to do that through these commandments, you'll find that everything in your life will be better. Because now you have proper order, something that America can't teach you, something that the white man that you love and worship cannot teach you, because he ain't got it, because the Lord ain't give it to him. He gave it to us. All right, let's get Judith, the 9th chapter. This is another thing. I wanted to bring this precept out too, because this is another aspect to why the Lord gave us the law, right? Because remember, we're talking about the purpose of the law. Give me Judith, the 9th chapter and the 14th verse.
Judith, chapter 9, verse 14. And make every nation and tribe to acknowledge that thou art the God of all power and mighty, that there is none other that protecteth the people of Israel but thou.
We have to understand this. There's only one reason why I wanted to bring out this verse, because of that word protect. There's only one God that protects the children of Israel. Think about that word for a second. I always go back to the Most High being a father. All right. I always go back to that, because that's a father's job. A father's job is to provide and to protect. What does the father provide? He provides order. He provides that civility, that the morality that he instills into you, that instruction, that guidance. But he also provides protection. And that's what the Lord does for us. The Lord provides protection, but he does it through the law. Why do we have the dietary law? What's the purpose of that? Why in Leviticus, the 11th chapter, there are these animals that are unclean to us? Well, I'll give you just one example. I'll give you a couple examples, right? The Lord said in Leviticus 11, I believe it's the 5th verse, that swine is unclean to you. Swine is pig, right? Well, the Bible, the Lord gave us that in the Bible, told us that it was unclean, but science proves that pig is unclean for you to eat. You should not be eating that. Why? Pigs don't have sweat glands. So everything that they intake, it stays inside of their muscle fibers and inside of their skin, inside of their body. So why is that so bad? Because pigs eat anything. Pigs eat absolutely anything. They used to, back in Rome in the 1st century AD, and probably many other places and time periods, but
They used to when they were at war and there were dead bodies in the street, they would let the pigs out, and the pigs would just go up and down the streets, and they would eat all of those people. Just eat the people. They would eat anything because that's what pigs do. Pigs are like the bottom feeders of the animals that walk upon land. That's not healthy for you to eat, brothers and sisters. That's not healthy for you to eat. It's unhealthy. The Lord is trying to protect you. I know that you might like the way that it smells. I personally hate the way pork smells. Y'all might like it though, especially because we've been raised in America. You've been raised to think that pork is like a good thing, but you might like the way it tastes. And you might just think it's just another form of meat. But the Lord didn't say that that was food for us. Pig is not food, so we're not supposed to eat it. Pig is going to be the reason that you get sick. Pig is going to kill you. It's not food for us. So the Lord tried to protect you by saying, hey, don't eat that. On top of that, of all of the fish in the sea and the creatures in the sea, the Bible say that you have to have those creatures in the sea have to have fins and scales, both, not just one or the other, but have to have both. Well, shellfish don't have fins and scales, neither one, right? So, like for instance, shellfish is like your lobster, your shrimp, your crab, those types of things, oysters, all of those things that a lot of times people look at as like delicacies, right? Like a lot of people looks at like a big snow crab is like, oh, I got a snow crab dinner, I'm balling, about $50 meal I'm eating right now. Well, that's not a delicacy. The Lord said that that's not food. You're not supposed to eat it. Well, did you know that? And probably a lot of people do know this, but science proves that those are the bottom feeders of the earth. They go out and eat all of the filth in the water. They clean the water. So all of the feces that comes from fish, all of the nasty things that you find in the water, all of the funguses and all of the things that are not good for you, those particular fish, like your crab and your lobster, those go and they clean that water by eating it, by consuming it. And so then you take it out of that water, you crack it open, put it on, boil it, however the hell they cook that stuff, and then you put it in your mouth and consume it. So you eating all of the things that those bottom feeders was eating. Same thing for catfish. Y'all, a lot of y'all didn't know catfish is a bottom feeder too. And catfish don't have scales. So it's unclean to you. It's not food. A lot of people don't realize how unhealthy it is to eat those things. But in Black culture, it's normal to eat catfish. That's like a damn near a delicacy. Y'all love catfish. The Bible, the Most High throughout this Bible is trying to show you don't eat that because he's trying to protect you, because eating those things is bad for your health. So that's another reason why the Lord. Now we can, of course, on top of all of this, we don't even really need to go deep into this. The Lord say don't do it, just don't do it. It could all be that simple. But I know people. I know how my people are. They want to know why. And that's why. That's why the dietary law is the way that it is. All right. Let's get Deuteronomy the 22nd chapter real quick. I just wanted to read this real quick too. Deuteronomy the 22nd chapter, because this is another way that the Lord protects us. All throughout the law, you find the Lord just trying to save us from ourselves. This is a good Father, and He thought of everything. Give me, I mentioned this a little bit earlier too. Give me Deuteronomy 22:8.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22, verse 8. When thou buildest a new house, then thou shalt make a battlement for thy roof, that thou bring not blood upon thine house, if any man fall from thence.
The Lord is trying to protect you. He said, if you build a house, put a battlement around the top of it, a railing around the top of it, so don't nobody fall off the house. Like, who thinks of something like that? Only the Lord. And He thought of that to protect not only you, because if somebody come and work on your house and they fall off, now you are responsible, but it's also protecting the brother to come and work on the house. That's just something that you would, it seems so minute and so small, but it's for our protection. Let me get Deuteronomy. Matter of fact, we'll read the beginning of this chapter. But simple things like that. The Lord has installed these things into the Bible just for our protection. Let's read the first verse, Deuteronomy 22:1.
Deuteronomy 22:1. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them.
Right. So now this is another one. This is something that a lot of people don't realize. There are so many laws in the Bible. A lot of people don't realize that there are these types of laws in the Bible. It say, thou shalt not see your brother's ox go astray and you hide yourself. Meaning, your brother's ox that's what he uses either to make his money or to get from point A to point B. Whatever the case, right? I want to say point A, he ain't riding a damn ox like a horse. My point, though, is that he utilizes this ox for something to benefit him. Not only, let's say he don't. It's his. He probably paid money for it. You can't see this brother's ox go away from him, start, run away or whatever the case, and you hide yourself from him. Meaning you don't want to have to tell this brother, hey man, your ox is going away. Because why? Now you're gonna have to go help him. You gotta go help him get his damn ox back. You don't want to have to do that. But you know what this does? This fixes the not my problem mindset that Israel got. Because so many of us got the shit, ain't my problem. You're going to see something. See, you might be walking past a brother's house. You may not know this brother. This is the equivalent. You might not know this brother. You might see somebody breaking into his car. And some of y'all might just be like, glad it ain't me. But what the Bible tell you is you better go get that brother. Hey, man, somebody trying to get at your car, man. Let's go. That's what the Bible would have you do because there is no not my problem when it comes to Israel. Let's keep reading.
Thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother. And if thy brother be not nigh unto thee, or if thou know him not, then thou shalt bring it unto thine own house, and it shall be with thee until thy brothers seek after it, and thou shalt restore it to him again.
Yeah, this fixes the not my problem mindset that so many Israelites have. You're going to have to do some work. This is brotherhood, but this is what's necessary to keep a nation solid. This is once again, if you were to walk past and see somebody stealing your brother's car, you having seen that, now it's your fault. When that cat drives off with your brother's car, and the reason why your brother can't make it to work every day, can't do what he got to do, got to spend another how many other thousands of dollars to go get a new car, the reason is you. It's your fault. That's what the Lord is trying to get you to understand. Instead of being that type of person, you're going to go get your brother's car back. You're going to go make sure that your brother keeps what's his. And that's the same thing that we see here, because it is your problem, because y'all are brothers. And that's why the Bible is a collectivist book, right? This set of instructions that we have is about the children of Israel being collectivists. So now it's no more like America where it's a crab in a bucket mentality, where you got to step on somebody's foot to reach the top. The crab in the bucket mentality is basically you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket. None of them ever really get out of the bucket because as soon as one gets close to the top, the other crabs are coming trying to pull it down so they can get to the top. And then when that crab gets to the top, the other one comes and pulls it down so nobody ever gets out of the damn bucket. That's what the crab in the bucket mentality is. And that's black people in America. Black people and Hispanic people in America are always trying to step on each other's toes instead of helping each other, instead of lifting each other up. And we can all get out the goddamn bucket. Well, this type of law, which it is a law, so I pray everybody understands, you don't let your brother's property just get taken and you see it and you don't say nothing about it. You don't do nothing to help the brother out. There is no not my problem. It's all our problem, because one of our brother's problem is all of our problem. Right. And if we have that type of mindset, we was talking about this the other day, if we have this type of mindset, then we can thrive as a nation. We can thrive and we can stop being the poverty. We can, stop being the lowest of all the nations. We can be the highest of all the nations. That's why the scriptures tell us when you keep these laws, it's not just talking about adultery, the big ones. It's not just talking about not murdering, not killing, not stealing. It's also talking about keeping laws like this. Because when you gather yourself together and you form that united front that the Bible is trying to get you to form, then you can conquer all of the oppression that we're faced with.
Right. We
don't have to be there. There is no poor brother in the UPK because we follow these instructions. A brother don't got money to pay for food, Brother ain't got money to cover his rent. Brother ain't got money to do this, that, and the third. You best believe he's going to get the money. We'll come up with the money. Why? Because the Bible tells us to do that. The Bible orders us to do that because the Lord ordains for that brotherhood to be active. And that's what we got to do. We got to come back to that. That's why we teach the way that we teach. That's why we say brotherhood is a weapon. That's why this school was built off of brotherhood, because without it, everything else fails. You see what happened with Sakari? Them niggas hate each other, and that's why they fail. You see what happened? You see what's happening in IUIC? Them niggas hate each other. You see what's happening? All of these other groups that try to come together and say, well, we know all of the precepts. We know all of the breakdowns. But y'all ain't got no brotherhood. That's why you fall. That's why GMS fell. That's why all of these groups fell. Because they don't have the brotherhood. And the Bible tells you without brotherhood, you're not keeping the law. Without brotherhood, you're not going to be able to make it. So now let's get that real quick. Let's get Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, and we'll close out. Let's get Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, and we'll close out. That's the purpose of the law, man. The purpose of the law is so that way the Lord can protect you from yourself. He can help you to fight the demons that you have lost the battle against time and time again. Time and time again. I always say this. Excuse me. Allergies jamming me up. But time and time again, man, every terrible situation that you've gotten yourself into, you the one that got yourself into that situation. Right. The Bible is here to prevent you from making those types of terrible decisions. The Bible is here to say, let the Lord make your decisions for you. He'll tell you how to do this and how to do that. He'll institute men above you to give you counsel and instruction on how to go about every situation. And that way, you ain't never got to blame yourself for a bad decision, because the Lord will order your steps aright and give you men and give you these instructions so that way you ain't never got to make a bad decision again. All right. Let's read Deuteronomy 4 and 5.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them. For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations.
Right. So now this is Moses talking to the children of Israel. I kept referencing this. I think I kept saying Deuteronomy 6, but this is Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. Say, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Just remember this. This was when the children of Israel were being brought into our land, not into America, not into another land of captivity, but into our land. And so these laws was given to us to help us govern our land. These were going to be this would be the constitution of our land, the land of Israel. And so the Moses is making that very clear. And then he says to keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. See, you see how everybody looks at America right now. I won't say right now, I think America is a joke right now, but for quite some time, America was looked at like a superpower. Everybody wanted to be like America. It was the so-called fastest growing nation on the planet, right? All of those things. So everybody looked at America like, man, I want to be like that. I want to go enjoy the American dream. Y'all heard of that term, right? Well, but America still, they ain't got their stuff together either. Like that, the system in America is absolutely broken, right? And so what the Bible is telling us is that even more than America, it wouldn't be the American dream. It would be the Israelite dream. It would be, I want to be with those Israelites, because those Israelites know how to run shit. Excuse my language. Those Israelites know how to govern their country. They know how to govern their body. And that's what's the most important thing. That's why these laws are so important, is because we don't have to try to come up like America. When they come up with the Constitution, you know what it was? It was a bunch of white people, damn wigs on, sitting around the table saying, okay, how do we handle this situation? How do we handle this situation? And it was just a bunch of them talking amongst themselves. But we ain't got to do that. You know why? Because it's all right here. It's all in this Bible laid out in front of us. All we got to do is make sure that the judges and that the priests keep up with these things. That's it. The Lord already laid it. He did the groundwork for us. And the other nations are going to look at it and say, damn, this is a righteous group of people. That's why people look at the UPK. They can't never say nothing about us. All they can do is say that we a cult. All they can do is say that we racist. But you know what they can't say? They can't say there's no scandals going on here. They can't say that anybody. I ain't gonna use this, but y'all know what happened with Sakari. They can't say none of that is going on here.
Right.
All of the things that you've seen happen in IUIC, they can't say nothing like that about us. Ain't no pictures of rides floating around here. You can't say that about us. Why? Because everything that we do is based off of this Bible. So our counsels are based off of this Bible. If there's any wickedness in here, you get kicked the hell out of this school, just like how the Bible tells you to kick them out of Israel. Why? Because we follow the Bible. And so you can't say anything like that about. You can call us racist, you can call us a cult, you can call us black extremists, you can call us whatever the hell you want to call us, but you can't call us sinners. That's what you can't call us. Because we follow this book to a T, because the Lord told us to do it. And because Moses said it just right here, you keep therefore and do these commandments no matter what. And so I think that pretty much covers it. I know we kind of running over just a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out. But that's the point. All right. The point of the law is to make sure that you're governed properly. The Lord wants you to have your constitution, not the white man's constitution. The Lord don't want you to follow, another man's idea of what life should be like. The Lord has already laid it out for you, and He's giving you laws that protect you from yourself, and that's extremely important, because if it was up to you, you'll be dead by 25, because that's the way that you live your life. But according to the Lord wants you to have everlasting life, and the only way that you can get that is if you follow these instructions in His Bible. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and close out. So we'll go ahead and we'll close out with the prayers. I imagine, which means to stand. Upon Yahweh done, which means to turn and face the east. We're going to begin with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwatka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Marataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathanaw, Lakam, Ka Yawam, Masalakanaw, Ka Watnaw, Kasalaknaw, Ka Wathinaw, Wala'ah, Tabayanaw, Panasa 1, Abal, Hawashinaw, Mayan, Raikaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Wa'ala, Watha Parath, Lai Wilamium. The Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. So be it. We're going to read a power in the Hebrew. Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahushai. Baba Kushai. Nathanaw Hakat. Hakat Larapa'ah. Ka'al Maka Allah. Wakal Madawah. Wakal Madawah. Hakat Latahar. Hamat Zarayim. Hakat Lakwayam. Hamathiam. Hakat Awakawa. Fatima Allah. Lagarshan. Ba'ashem Yahushai. Waraman. All right, the prayers for the power in the English. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, please give us the power. The power to heal all manner of sickness. And all manner of disease. The power to cleanse the lepers. The power to raise the dead. The power against unclean spirits. To cast them out. In the name of Yahushai. Thank you, so be it. Prayers to bless Israel. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Barak Lanawa, Waya Sha'ala, Wahabayat Saparyam, Barak, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the Waraman. Prayers to bless Israel in English. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, bless us, and Israel, and the school, in the name of Yahushai. Thank you, so be it. Psalms the 121st chapter in the Hebrew. Asha'ah, Ayanya, Ahahaya, Mayan, Yaba'ah, Isaiah, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Aisha, Shamayam, Waratazah, Al Yathan, Lamawat, Regalka, Al Yanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'ah, Yanawam, Wala'ah, Yayashan, Shamar, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al Yad, Yam Yanka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'ah, Yakaka, Wayarath, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Mokal Rai, Yashamar, Athnapaska, Yahweh, Yashamar, Taza'athka, Wabawa'aka, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, Psalms the 121st chapter in English. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yashalah shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Psalms the 83rd chapter in Hebrew. Alahayu, Al Damayalaka, Al Thakarash, Al Thashakwat, Al Kayahana, Awayabika, Yahamayawan, Ra'ash, Al Imaka, Yaruyamwa, Sawada, Wayatha, Yaitazawa, Al Tazapawanyaka, Amarwa, Lakawa, Wanakagidam, Magalia, Wala'a, Yazakar, Sham Yashala, Awada, Kaya, Nawaitazawa, Laba, Yakhadwa, Al Yaka, Baryath, Yakarathwa, Ahawya, Adawam, Wayashama Aliyam, Mawa'aba, Wagarya, Gabal, Waimawan, Waimalak, Kalashai, I'm Yeshabia, Tazawar, Gam Ashawar, Nalawa, Imam, Ayawa, Zarwai, Labanya Lawat, Salah, Ashalaham, Kamadyan, Kasaya, Sara'ah, Kayabyan, Manachal, Kwayashwan, Nashamadwa, Bayan, Da'ra, Ayawa, Daman, La'adama, Shayathamwa, Nada, Yamawa, Ka'ira, Wakaza Abba, Wakaza Bak, Wakatazal, Mana'ai, Kal, Messiah Kamwa, Ashar, Amarwa, Nairusha, Lanawa, Af, Nawath, Alahayim, Alahayim, Shayathamwa, Kagalgala, Kakwash, Lapanya Rakab, Ka'ash, Sabaira, Ya'ira, Wakala Abba, Talahat, Ayam, Khan, Taradatma, Basa'irika, Wabasa, Wapatka, Tabalam, Mala'ah, Panyaham, Kualawan, Wayabakwashwa, Shamka, Yahawah, Yabashwa, Wayabahawa, Ayai, Wakaparwa, Wayabagwa, Wayadaiwa, Kayatha, Shamka, Yahawah, Labadka, Al Yawan, Al Kal, Al Ratazan. Psalms the 83rd chapter in English. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yashala may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asor also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Salah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kasan, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like a red, and like Zeher. Yea, all their princes as a Ba, and as Zamunah, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. Oh my God. Make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name. O Yahweh, let them be confounded in trouble forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high of all the earth. We're going to read the blessings in the Hebrew. Barak atah Yahweh, wa Yahweh Shai, wa Ma'aka Allah, wa Allah Hayyu, Matazab Yah, Allah Wap Yahana, Allah Wapian, Asoranya, Akwatazayaya, Akayaya, wa Akwati, Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, what I'm in English. Bless you, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, commanding General Yahana, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Sorry while you're shopping, be seated. All right, we're going to go ahead and close out. So just the brothers, we'll give us a courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak,
Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai Barak Thumb.
Sorry towards the sister Amajim. Please stand. We get a sister a courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Shemal Hashem Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Shemal Hashem Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Matah, dismissed.